Hello, and thank you for tuning in to our Qualitative Article Critique regarding nursing students with dyslexia and how it is affected by clinical placement. Our group includes myself, Jasmine McCorvey, Desiree Utsley, Emily Rutledge, and Madeline Tepperberg. Take a seat, sit back, relax, and enjoy our presentation. First, what is this article about, may you ask? Dyslexia originates from the Greek word dys, meaning impaired, and lexia, meaning word. Dyslexia affects everyone differently and uses a broad term of learning disabilities with varying degrees. Dyslexia affects 10% of nurses. It is thought that dyslexia actually affects the phonological processing of the brain, impairing the ability to spell, read, memorize, hand-eye coordination, and sequencing, causing them to take longer to process ideas and complete tasks. Why was the study completed? The purpose of this study stemmed from the prior research that nursing students with dyslexia were not adequately compensated in the classroom and clinical setting. A literature review was conducted to explore the experience of nursing students with dyslexia on clinical placements with the aim of identifying recommendations for practice. McFeet, 2014.
Was the sample used in the study appropriate to this research question? Yes. The study sample focused on nursing students with dyslexia, which made the sample appropriate to the research question. There are three main questions. The first question, was the population of interest adequately described? The population of interest was not adequately described. Instead, the article focused mainly on whether or not nursing students with dyslexia pose a risk to patient safety, disclosure of dyslexia, and support for nursing students. Second question, was the sample broad enough to capture all the facets of the phenomenon? The sample was more specific than broad because it focused primarily on nursing students with dyslexia. Were the limitations of the sample clearly justified? The sample size was the only limitation because the participants feared being discriminated against by participating in the research.
Was the data analyzed appropriately?
The article provided a clear description of a systematic form of data analysis in their literature review, and details were also provided on how the literature review was carried out. The 10 articles used in the review were deemed very valuable because they focused on the lived experiences of nursing students living with dyslexia. Researchers carried out a meta-analysis of the articles, in which the idea is focused on identifying patterns in study results. In order to outline the common themes, each article was read and reread in chronological order. The themes that were identified include risk to patient safety, disclosure of dyslexia, and support for nursing students. The review of literature was completed by one author, who is a staff nurse in London. His name is Christopher McFeet. This leaves no possibility for a difference in analysis. On the possibility of the presence of biases in the analytic procedures, the use of more than one author or point of view may have helped to provide a better insight into the research issue.
Was the data collected appropriately?
The method of data collection was adequately described and justified. The author chose articles from 4 databases. They are as follows: Nursing Standard, Cumulative Index to Nursing and Allied Health Literature, Nurse Education Today, British Nursing Index, and Psychology and Behavioral Sciences Collection. They found these articles using the following keywords during their search: dyslexia and nurse, dyslexia and student, dyslexic and nurse, dyslexic and student, as well as the words dyslexic and dyslexia individually to broaden their search. They then filtered out any articles that were not in the English language, as well as if they were not purely qualitative. From there, they looked at content, and 10 articles were selected for the qualitative study. Once the authors had chosen their 10 articles, they conducted a meta-analysis of them. By conducting a meta-analysis, This means that they were combining and contrasting the research while trying to identify patterns of the results. This led to the authors reading and rereading the articles enough to identify themes. Once this process was over, they had identified 3 common themes. These themes were risk to patient safety, disclosure of dyslexia, and support for nursing students. Triangulation in a qualitative research study is very important because it speaks to validity. Triangulation means using more than one method to collect data on the same topic. This is a way of assuring the validity of research through the use of a variety of methods to collect data on the same topic, which involves different types of samples as well as methods of data collection. However, the purpose of triangulation is not necessarily to cross-validate data, but rather to capture different dimensions of the same phenomenon. As stated above, the authors went through a weeding out process to select the 10 articles they chose to study. Before making their selections, they made it clear that they specifically chose some articles to gain a different perspective. For example, one article was chosen to identify if there had been a change in behavior towards people with dyslexia. Another article was chosen because the research regarded qualified nurses and could be identified with the links of disclosure. This was all done before conducting the meta-analysis and served to give them triangulation. The phenomenon was studied in multiple contexts and settings. Each study that the author looked over had taken place in a different hospital environment and had different outcomes to offer, giving a more well-rounded idea of what issues a nursing student with dyslexia may encounter.
Can the results of the study be transferred to the clinical setting? Results can be transferred to various settings such as school, work, and training. Throughout the STEM of nursing school, time is spent in the classroom, trainings, and in the clinical setting. Nursing students with dyslexia can be affected in all 3 areas, which can affect their work. Overall improvements to the environment of dyslexic nursing students are needed. These include use of fonts such as Arial, 12 to 14 size font, plain and evenly spaced letters, and colored paper such as light pastels, multiple learning styles incorporated into teaching, ensuring quiet areas for paperwork completion, knowledgeable about dyslexia for everyone, and supportive measures so that students are comfortable expressing their needs, to name a few. Recommendations are also made for the students and the mentor/teacher. For the students, it includes being confident in disclosing your dyslexia, getting tested if you feel this applies to you, explaining to your mentor your needs, checking spelling, taking extra time to read material, knowing your learning style, organizing and planning for your day as much as possible, and asking your mentor to pronounce unfamiliar words. For the mentor/teacher, this includes getting to know your student's strengths, weaknesses, and challenges to better provide for the student when teaching, giving examples of work to be completed, ensuring the student has a quiet area to complete tasks, including tests, and increasing knowledge about dyslexia and how it affects nursing students.
Does the study adequately address potential ethical issues, including reflexivity? The study did not include reflexivity. The researcher did not examine nor acknowledge the assumptions and preconceptions he brought into the research, nor did it shape the outcome. There are also 2 other questions that go along with this topic. The first question, is there a thorough exploration of the ethical consequences of collecting personal experiences and sharing them with the public? The second question, was confidentiality and anonymity maintained? The article maintained confidentiality and anonymity, but it did not mention nor provide a thorough exploration of the ethical consequences which may arise from sharing personal experiences with anyone besides the individual participating in the study.
Establishing trustworthiness. This study successfully established trustworthiness by being credible, transferable, confirmable, and dependable. The study established credibility by utilizing peer-reviewed qualitative studies, and the research was very specific when searching for data. In order to establish credibility, triangulation was implemented by using several different methods of obtaining data. This was done to ensure that a variety of relative studies were included in the review. Secondly, it is important that research is also transferable. This study achieved transferability by considering several different settings in their research. For example, the dyslexic student nurse in the clinical setting and the dyslexic registered nurse in the work setting. By establishing the common themes present in all of the studies, the issue at hand is made relative to the real-world setting. The study is also made trustworthy by confirmability. The author remains neutral and unbiased throughout the study as he is recounting and analyzing the results from the different studies in a review of literature. He cites the common similarities or issues found in the different studies to bring attention to the lack of resources and assistance made available to dyslexic nurses and students. The study is dependable and consistent. This shows through the author's establishment of the common issues at hand in all 10 of the reviewed articles. The study points out the top 3 major issues that are consistent in all of the studies, meaning that there is a high probability of the issues being relative to the population being studied. Therefore, this increases the level of trustworthiness.
This will conclude our video presentation for our qualitative article critique. We appreciate you for taking out the time to listen and watch our video and hope that you have learned some interesting facts. If you are wanting to read this article more in depth, we have cited the reference below for you to do so. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can type those in the comments section below, and we will do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Again, we thank you for watching and listening. Have a great day.